Hey, welcome to today's episode. We have Tony Weaver Jr. on our show live. Emilio's back in the building. I got the drawing ready for the tablet. So give us a few minutes to get everything set up. And we're going to dive deep into Tony's projects, what he has going on. And this will be 320 episodes of Chat and Draw. We'll be right back. Stick with us as we set it all up.
Freestyle comics. Thanks Anonymous. I walk the streets with my swagger on, supernatural, facing a million opponents, and my role is to act alone. Lights, camera when the action's on. Where I roam is a battle zone, a vigilante in the catacombs. But I rock with a hot shot like a clock when it's cocked and popped and the lead is gone. People say that my head is gone, but it's them same people in need of my help when I'm heading home in life. They say that everybody got a purpose, so I roam the city streets like faulty cellular service. The hot shot, sharpshooter, superhero, destined to shine like light through the dark and evil. I fight for what's right in the hearts of people and try to open y'all eyes, cause it's hard to see truth. You
What's up, everybody? How you doing? I'm Mike Watson, the most enthusiastic person in comics, aka the publisher of Freestyle Comics, and we are in the building for another epic episode of Chat and Draw. Let's just get through the rhythm here and get you caught up on FSK news. Surveys have all been launched for the Vigilance Trade Kickstarter, so please check your emails, check the updates on the Kickstarter. We also have the Backer Kit pre-order store that is live, and we've had people going up there to catch up on chances to get stuff that they did not get in the Kickstarter. So if you have not gotten your link or you cannot find your email, please message me and I will get you the link over there so you can get stuff in your backer kit and fill out your survey. The faster we do the survey, the faster we can ship out all the rewards and stuff once we have ordered the books, which will be happening this weekend. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. Then the 5 star, as you can see, as we have changed our dressing, 5 star number 3 is what's next on our plate. Go to fskgo.com, hit the follow me button so you can be known when this Kickstarter goes live. We are shooting for Tuesday, but if we get 150 followers on there, we're gonna launch that bad boy as soon as we get the 150 followers. We got a lot of sweet stuff on there. Tony's very excited about this. This third issue is the next chapter in Kevin Terry's story, and it is really good. We've dubbed it Into the Wolf's Lair, as it is going to introduce new characters, new villains, and get deeper into the mystery of why Terry's best friend was now discovered to be murdered. I'm just talking about the story. Don't social media don't get me for that. We're talking about a story, fictional. All right. We have Gadsden Columbus that is in December, and FSCon coming up in November, and I'll be releasing more news about that coming up soon as well. I think that's it. I think that's all for us. Oh, let's bring out a Mayu. There she is.
Mm,
What's up,
mm,
Mayu?
I'm
Ama-
back.
you
I'm
back?
back.
You back?
Hello and happy hump day. Good to be here. How are you doing today?
Yes, yes. Doing
All
all
is
right.
well.
Taking it one moment at a time.
How is my sound? I'm obviously not in my usual. place, so I don't have
Oh,
my usual setup.
you make do with what you got. We're just glad to have you back on the episode tonight.
I missed you.
Oh, you were missed too. But
Okay,
so
quick question before we
yeah.
get into everything.
hmm
Did you see Joker 2?
I have not seen Joker 2. I
Okay,
will.
well, we won't discuss it then
Yeah.
because I don't even need to bring my energy down discussing it. Okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
keep it up.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Okay,
That's good. All right. All right. Fish, what's up? How you doing, Fish? I probably won't see Joker 2 till it comes to streaming.
that'll be best for free
Yeah. Yeah.
with the discount code.
And that is not based off of anybody else's opinion of the Joker 2 film. I just was not excited about that movie. I didn't like some of the choices that the director and them had talked about that they did for the film, and I really don't see the purpose of it. So I am choosing to wait until it
You know
goes to
what?
streaming.
I also don't see the purpose of it, and I saw it.
That's Hey, that's terrible. Well, it is what it is. But look, we're about to dive into this because we got a great guest on the show coming on tonight, and we're about to bring them out here so we can jump right into it and talk about all the great things they have going on and traditional chat and draw fashion.
Let's do it.
Wait a second. A new opponent has interrupted the tournament.
What's up, sir? How you doing?
I feel like we just need like a moment for the sophistication in the production you got going on here. I was like, what? I said, hold on a minute. What is this? This ESPN? How did we get here? What? This is great. Wonderful. Huh.
Thank you very much, man. It's very nice to hear from you. I appreciate it. Uh, Glad you were able to have time to get on the show with us. What I would like you to do is introduce yourself to our audience in the chat and what it is that you do, sir.
So my name is Tony Weaver Jr. And what I say about myself is that I wear a lot of different hats, both literally and figuratively. The hat that a lot of people know me for is this one that I wear on a lot of my social media content. So I am an online social media influencer, if you will, where I kind of talk about nerddom and positivity, trying to create a kind of safe corner of the internet for people to show up and be their most nerdy selves. I'm also an author. So I have a book called Weirdo that I call the Nerdy Kids Instruction Manual for Self-Love and Self-Confidence that has been out for about 2.5 weeks. It just entered its second printing. So we sold out of books. I told my publisher we were going to show out. I don't know if they thought I was joking or if they just they underestimated what was going on. But Weirdo just moved into its second printing. I'm excited to tell people about it.
Well, congratulations. That is
Congrats.
awesome to hear. And dude, that's just super, super dope. There's no other way to put that. All right. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about Weirdo?
Wait, before he does that though, we have to say hey to J-Man. He just popped up. Say hey to
Okay,
J-Man.
J-Man. What's up, J-Man? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. J-Man has watched all 300 plus episodes of our show except for one.
So this is actually very important. I'm honored to be in your presence, Mr. Man. Mr. Man is what I say.
Mr. J-Man, yes. All right. So yeah, let's definitely get into it. So okay, I have to confess that I do follow you on TikTok. So I've seen probably most of your videos.
I'm grateful.
I'm aware of Weirdo. I have not purchased it yet, but I will be purchasing it. So I will be asking a whole bunch of questions. So definitely go ahead and introduce your book, Weirdo, and we'll get into some more stuff.
So Weirdo is a middle grade graphic novel, which means that it's like full color comic book. The one that I'm holding in my hand is an advanced reader copy. So the finish on the final product is a little different. I just got back from 3 weeks on tour. So I am not entirely sure where my stash is. Like I think it's still my author copies, I think are still packed in my bag, but I keep the ARC in my office. But I think Weirdo is the book that I wish I had when I was younger, when I was young black nerd in Atlanta, Georgia, struggling to come to grips with who I was, and struggling to love myself. I think very often we tell kids, hey, you should love yourself. Hey, you should love yourself. But we never really give them instructions on how to do that. What is self-love? There are adults that go their whole lives and don't know how to love who they are. But we look at teenagers, like if your frontal lobe's not even developed, and you're like, hey, do this thing that a significant amount of the adult population, bless you, has not actually pulled off, right? So for me, Weirdo is supposed to be a helping hand for every young person on their journey to self-love and self-actualization. We follow me kind of navigating academic pressures and mental health disparity, and ultimately moving to a new school where I make a new group of friends that are really able to like offer me strong community. And we kind of get to watch as we evolve together as a group.
That's awesome. I got to read some of it and impressive. I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. Reading through it, it immediately spoke to me, and I got it. It was relatable, and it was spot on. It is telling stories of people that we need our people to see, and it's even though it has black and brown people as the focus, as the main character, anybody can relate to this character and what that character is going through. So hats off to you for being able to pull off that story to speak to so many different levels.
Thank you. The representation in Weirdo was a huge thing for me because very often when we talk about mental health, we do not talk about mental health through the lens of a black child. You hear a lot of these kind of mental health platitudes or slogans where people say, oh, well, when you get upset, take 10 deep breaths. And I'm like, in a world where black girls are suspended at twice the rate of their white peers for the same offenses, the black girls don't get to take 10 deep breaths. In a world where black boys are seen as inherently violent or connected to criminality, black boys do not get to, like, sometimes we might not even be mad. Like sometimes we might not even be upset. You're perceiving me as upset, and as a result, that's impacting the way that you're treating me. How am I supposed to navigate that or deal with that? So it's important. It was really important for me to tell a story that talked about mental health through the lens of a black child in a way that also would allow people that weren't black to kind of relate and connect as well. Because I think there are places where people do not regularly come into contact with people that look like me, kids that can go their whole K through 12 career without seeing a kid that looks like me. So Weirdo as a book kind of does that work of helping establish that empathy and that connection before they run into an actual black person. And that person, I'm sure you've like had a scenario where you bumped into somebody and you're like, man, you have not met a lot of black people before, and now that's my problem. Now I have to deal with it because you weren't properly.
Absolutely. I know I have. My father was in the military, so needless to say, bases, and even there, you're still the minority. Question about the age for the book. Yeah. What would be the recommended age for it? Because I was thinking about getting it for my nephew, and if I don't, I'll just get it for myself. But yeah, I just want to know the age range.
So I'll give you I'll give you the simple answer, then I'll give you the complex one. Is that cool?
Okay. Yes, both, please.
So the simple answer is that I think like 5th grade is probably where I place it. 5th grade at the lowest, but I feel like all the way up through high school. For example, in Weirdo, I think the older you are when you read it, the more things you catch, whether it's the nerdy references, whether it's some of the commentary about toxic masculinity, colorism. A 5th grader is going to read Weirdo and go, wow, this is cool. I enjoy this. An 8th grader might read Weirdo and see that chapter about him getting dealing with his first crush and go, oh, actually, I really needed to hear this right now. It's kind of intended to be a book that has that staying power and that relevance for different groups of people. But here's the complicated answer.
Okay, let's get it.
I'll use an anecdote for this. So I was on tour up the East Coast for about 3 weeks. And I've been at multiple schools, both middle and high. And I was at a middle school talking to 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And there was a 5th grader with a copy of Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 23 in his hands. while I was talking. As a matter of fact, he wanted me to sign it afterwards, and I was like, that's disrespectful. I can't sign somebody else's book. Gege Akutami is gonna he's gonna send Sukuna himself after me. I don't want that smoke. But it's interesting to me because manga is really taking over the publishing industry right now. When you look at the New York Times bestsellers list for graphic novels, it's really Scholastic and Viz. Manga has like a very major presence. And I think a part of that is because in manga, people don't really ask those questions. Naruto is Naruto. Nobody goes, what's the age range for Naruto? There are 12-year-olds like Naruto. There are 22-year-olds like Naruto. There are 32-year-olds like Naruto. There are people in their late 20s that are like huge Pokemon fans, and nobody's like, oh, what's the age range for Pokemon, right?
Right.
When it comes to manga, for whatever reason, people are able to get really transcendental and say, oh, it's a story. Stories can apply in a variety of circumstances, and I open my mind to all the ways that story can live and exist. But for Western authors, we kind of get put in a box. It's like, what is this? There's an early reader, chapter book, middle grade, YA, new adult, romance. Go, what is it? Because I need to figure out where to put it on the shelf. And I'm like, that's kind of limiting to the story. I feel like weirdo is for everybody. Everybody's gonna pick it up and get something different from it. But that's certainly an uphill battle with a colorful comic book.
Absolutely.
I can understand and respect that answer, because I was just getting into I'm not gonna say an argument, but a debate with a fellow colleague over anime and manga kind of dominating the field, as you were saying. And one of my things to them was, it's just because they make an anime and manga about anything. There's no topic off limits for them, which gives so many people so many other things to attach onto besides just the end of the world, or with the slice of life and everything like that. So it's very important that we should see our stuff in the same vein. Like, hey, it's open up for everybody. I want as many people as possible to get a hold of this, to be able to see this, to be able to read it.
So I'll how do I put it? I won't argue, but I will be like very blunt in my belief. And I say this as I look at all these books behind me, look at all the plushies behind me, right? I think anime is a trap. Anime is a trap, and too many people have fallen into the trap. People think that they love anime when really it's that they love storytelling. But since anime was their kind of gateway into stories that are a bit more expansive, they tricked themselves into believing, oh, it's just that Japanese people tell better stories. I'm like, oh, that's not true. Any manga that makes it to the United States is like the top 5% of all manga published in Japan. It had to be good in order for it to get translated. So you get a little survivor bias because you've never read a totally trash 0 out of 10 manga because it didn't get translated. If it was totally trash 0 out of 10, you would have never seen it because it never would have got translated and made it to the States anyway. Whereas in the States, there are plenty of 0 out of 10 trash comics that get published, that get their chance. And you read those and you go, wow, in comics, it's really possible for me to find a dud, but in manga, it's more curated. Obviously, it's because Japanese people know how to tell better stories. And that's not the case. It's never the case.
Right.
There's this meme that I saw where someone was like, you can show someone a sunset and they'll go, oh, that's okay, I guess. And then you show them a sunset and at the bottom you put, oh, this was in Tokyo. And they're like, wow, Japan is so cool. For most people that like Japan and Japanese culture, what I tell people is you don't love Japan. You just love being alive. Like every country has special flowers that only bloom during certain times of year. Every country has specific characters that are native to their folklore that you only find in their particular mythos. Every country has uniforms that their kids wear when they go to schools at specific ages. Every country has a food that consists of rice, fish, or noodles. Like everything that you say you love about Japan, that's literally anywhere, dog. You just got to take off the rose-tinted glasses, take off the weave glasses. I say with my horned hat and my like wall of manga, but take off the weave glasses.
I like that point.
That's what's up.
I've not heard that perspective, and I like and I appreciate that one. As an advocate for positive representation in media, how do you approach creating characters that reflect diverse experiences?
Yeah. So I
All
think
right.
diversity is a strength at all times. So for me, any story that I write when I create something, uh, I look at how that story exists. Hold on, I'm gonna take a quote from somebody. Anything that I write did not just fall out of a coconut tree. Okay, it exists in the context of everything that came before it. So
Mhm.
if I'm writing something, if I'm creating something, even with Weirdo's a middle grade graphic novel. So I went and I read like all of them. I read like 50 of them, especially the top performing ones. And a lot of the Black authors in the space that write middle grade took me under their wing from the beginning. Jerry Craft, Jason Reynolds, who has a book that just came out yesterday. Shout out to Jason Reynolds. All of these people are great storytellers that come into this space and they kind of carve out their niche and they add their thing to this collective tapestry that is our history of people and storytelling. And for me, I look at that tapestry and I go, well, what do I need to add? What's missing? When I write and when I create things, I try to write to the deficit. I go, well, what exists right now? And what is missing from the general context of things that are happening in stories. So for me, the thing that I found was that mental health was something that was missing from a lot of conversations, especially in an earnest way that I personally could relate to. I also felt that mental health through a lens of Black characters is something that was missing. So that was kind of where I went. But whenever I write, I look for the stories that aren't being told, and that kind of sets off a light bulb to me to go, okay, that's where I need to be. This is what I need to be. This is what I need to be talking about, if you will. So sometimes if I look and I go, oh, this type of story isn't being told, why isn't it being told? Sometimes the answer is because it's really hard to tell. When I was younger, like when I was in my teens, I get a little arrogant with it. I'd be like, obviously, no one's told this story because they're not as good of a writer as I am. Trash, plebeians, all of them, like me when I'm like 17. But now as an adult, I look and I'm like, it's difficult to tell these stories because there's some structural, cultural, systemic thing that stops this story from being the low-hanging fruit or the easy thing to do. Maybe it
Right.
requires a little bit more research. Maybe it requires a little bit more convincing. Maybe the market is skeptical about what the audience looks like. And when I find myself in creative situations like that, I go, well, this is what I'm built for. This is why this is this is why I create. So I get really excited about situations like that.
Mr. Fish
Oh,
said, dang, that just blew my mind. Well,
that's great. There goes Fish. Thanks for tuning in, Fish. Fish is a pretty dope artist himself. He writes, inks, colors, draws, letters, the entire comic books himself, and he's pretty dang fast.
It
as
sounds
well.
stressful. It sounds quite stressful.
so like I said, I've seen a few of your videos. So are you also a voice actor as well?
Yeah, so I am. I don't bring it up super often, but that's because of my own like personal place where I am in my journey. But I am a voice actor. I have a bachelor's of fine arts in acting. So that was what I went to school for, and I'm signed with CESD, which is one of the kind of most successful talent agencies in the country, especially when it comes to VO. So a lot of the people that are really running the space right now, are buddies of mine. So Zeno Robinson, AJ Beckles, Adam MacArthur. I get the opportunity to call these people friend. And voiceover is fun. It's a good time. I got a booth in my basement. And when the auditions come in, I just go down there.
Get into it. Nice. Is there anything that you worked on that you want to share with us as far as voice acting goes?
Not right now. Not
Okay.
right now. That's why I don't bring it up as much. I'm very much in my like audition season. Here's what's interesting. It's one of the things about like the it's one of the things about the duality of the life I live, and one of the ways I keep myself humble. On one hand, I'm an author that's had like multiple books acquired in six-figure deals. I run a national multi-million-dollar organization, but I'm also a voice actor, and if you ask me what my resume is, I go poof. I hand you like a blank sheet of paper. So I kind of exist in these spaces where on one hand, people are like, you've done more in your 20s than some people do in their entire careers. And then there are other spaces where I'm certainly like the underdog. And I think balancing both of those things helps make sure my head doesn't get too big. It helps keep me driven and humble as well.
Yeah, that's what's up. So you said you're in your 20s. Go ahead and tell us how old you are.
Oh, did I say I was in my 20s?
Oh, well, you said you accomplished a lot in your 20s. So okay,
I did.
so
I did. I just turned 30. I'm an old man. I take I'm an old man. I take multivitamins every day. Okay. I take multivitamins. I stretch, my joints, all that stuff. I'm an old man. It's true.
Okay, well then I guess I'm an elder then today. Okay, so now you said that this hat that you have on, what is this hat? Because to me it's just the signature TikTok hat. That's what I know it as.
So it's Mount Lady from My Hero Academia. And I wonder now that the manga is over, as we proceed towards the end of the anime, I wonder if people will are we going to reach a point where I have this hat on and there are people that have never seen My Hero Academia before that are like, oh, that's just Tony's hat. It'd be interesting. I need to make my own hat is what I need to do. I need to make my own hat.
Hey, merch is, as you know, merch and branding is big.
So, I mean, I've talked to Mike about this. He knows that Adam does not extend to anime. Okay, I love a good Marvel movie. I watch the DC ones. I do my cosplay, but I just have not been able. But my best friend, she is. So I'm like, okay, one day, me and her, we're gonna come together, and we're gonna go to some type of anime convention. We're gonna make that happen. Speaking of movies that have come out recently, Joker movie.
I didn't see the first Joker movie. I think the Joker as a character is a 14-year-old's idea of complexity, and he does not interest me at all. I have zero interest in anything Joker oriented or related, at all.
Well, alrighty then, moving right along.
No. Everybody's like, that's the thing, Batman. You're not laughing because you don't get the joke. And I'm like, that sounds like something a 14-year-old wrote in their spiral notebook. As a 14-year-old that wrote many things in their spiral notebook, that just, I don't know. I feel like the Joker is very similar to Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty, whereas the popularity is less about the actual merit of the character and more about how fans of the character use the character to kind of project their own unreasonable self-image and self-delusions. So somebody that, think about the stereotype, right? Think about a guy who peaked in high school, hasn't really done much since high school, didn't really apply himself in high school, but the thought process that he had was like, oh, I don't do well in my grades because I don't try. But if I tried, I could really do it. If I tried, I'd be smarter than everybody. It just doesn't really feel like it's worth trying. And that's also why he didn't go to college, because college isn't for me, academia. I don't really care. That guy, after his very physically taxing temp agency job, comes home and puts on Rick and Morty, and Rick Sanchez says something about oh yeah, Morty, Morty, it's so difficult to be the smartest person in the room, Morty. And that guy sits on the couch and goes, he just like me for real. But it's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. And that's how I feel about the Joker too. It's like, don't do that. You're not like a tortured genius. You're just a guy. That's okay. There's joy in being just a guy. But don't, you're just a guy. It's okay.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with being just a guy.
Nothing wrong at all.
Hey, Kyron. And yes, that is the Tony.
Hello.
Hey, Ro.
Ro Lamb in the building. What's up, bro? I'm really digging the takes where you're coming from with some of this stuff that you're saying. I really am digging it. So as a creator, Well, actually, let me back it up a little bit.
Mhm.
Back it up.
I'm gonna back it up. I'm gonna back it up because I think I failed to ask this question at the beginning because I wanted to dive into because I just like saw read some stuff with weirdo and whatnot. But
Mhm.
what is the thing that you uh that catapulted you into being a creative?
Um,
Ooh.
so I'll tell you a story that I don't think I've shared this story in any interview that I've done. Um, for me, it's anxiety, which is weird to say. But I'll explain it like this. Uh, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I had a literature teacher who's featured in Weirdo that put me in front of the work of Black playwrights, Black authors, and really helped me recognize and understand the value of my story. At the time, I didn't want to be a writer, I wanted to be an actor. Which is why I went to school at Elon University. Elon's ranked number 18 in the country for theater. They accept 16 kids a year. I got accepted into the program, and I go, and I'm like super excited. I'm ready to move, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I get to the school and I'm assigned a mentor who's a senior, who in my opinion is one of the like best actors that I've seen. And for me, even like I believe in myself, I feel like I'm skilled, but I saw him act and I was like, even at my apex, I don't feel like I can do what you're doing right now. You're just great. You're wonderful. So he graduates and I wait to hear about kind of what he's doing, what he's got going on, and kind of word gets out that like he moved to LA and LA kind of chewed him up and spit him out. And I look at some of the other upperclassmen that I had that I really admired. And for a lot of them, after a year or two post school, a lot of them weren't even acting anymore. And I got really scared. I would like stay awake at night thinking to myself, like feeling like basically I was on a conveyor belt about to get dumped into the abyss, like that scene in The Brave Little Toaster. Like, if you don't figure out a way to make something happen, if you can't make something shake, if you can't figure it out, if you leave your potential in somebody else's hands to find, they'll never find it. You can be you can be the most artisanal Stradivarius violin, but if there's no musician that comes and picks you up, you will never play a single song and no one will ever hear anything from you. So as a first year student, my anxiety kind of made me take agency over my own creative fate. I thought about it and I said, listen, I want to be an actor, but most of the roles that people are casting for, I don't actually want to do any of these things. It's wild to think that I can be the 1% of people that actually survive making a living as an actor. And every day when I go into work, I don't even like my roles. That's wild. I did all of this just to like eke out a meager existence where I parrot the words of other people that I don't even believe in. That sounds terrible. So I picked up the pen and I started writing. I said, it's got to be me. I got to make it myself. I got to do the whole thing. And that urgency has been what's driven me as a creative over the course of like my entire career. We dropped the Uncommons in 2020. Like Weird Enough as a company has made like millions of dollars off of our independent comic. Like on paper, the anxiety attacks that I was having in freshman year has made me like bar none one of the most financially successful indie Black comic creators in the history of the medium. And I just get on TikTok with a pointy hat on and talk about racism sometimes. I don't even be flaunting that. I don't even go I don't even go toot my own horn like that. But story, like it's that I know what happens when someone has to wait to be given permission to tell their story, and I told myself I never wanted to be in that situation.
So how long
Freaking dig it. I didn't.
have you been on TikTok?
I started TikTok in 2020, right after Weirdo got acquired. Weirdo got acquired in late 2019, and I said, it's probably going to be easier for me to it's probably going to be easier for me to make something shake with an audience than without an audience. There was a point in time, like in Weirdo, it gets talked about a lot. Like I got bullied a lot when I was growing up, and there was a point in time where I was really kind of insecure about my appearance. So on my Instagram and stuff like that, I never actually show my face or post pictures of myself. But I said, bro, you got to get over that. It's in Weirdo, actually. There's a moment where my therapist says to me, he says, if you want, how are people going to show up for you if you don't show up first?
Ooh.
So I kind of stepped over the insecurity and said, I feel like there are people that would resonate with me from hearing my voice and from seeing me. And I was right. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Okay, bars.
I knew I was going to enjoy the conversation, but I didn't know you were going to drop so many bars on the show. I'm up here.
Listen, you pulled up with the intro. I was like, I got to match the energy. It's very sophisticated production here. I got to be a sophisticated guest.
Very much so appreciated. Fish said he spent 40 years waiting for someone to walk by and find him. Nothing. Started doing himself and worked on 99 books in the last 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not lying when I say that man is fast. And he's put out a few books for us. That actually is a great segue because Fish drew 5-star number 3, the current book that we will have on Kickstarter in a week or so. And so we are going to go to our commercial showing the teaser trailer that is going to get you all excited. That's going to get you guys to go to fskgo.com to follow this campaign. So when we launch it, it funds day one because you guys want this content. You know what? I'm still getting good at multitasking. Give me 1 second. There's the video. Pull it up.
It comes.
I appreciate Restream, but it has a couple snags that will slow you down. All right, here we are. Doom. We'll be right back. And there you have it. Go to that campaign. Go check it out.
Almost had me there. I'm like, oh no.
Well, we dig the emotional content. We dig it very much so.
Love a good emotional arc. Love something that'll tug at someone's heartstrings.
Absolutely. Thanks. So I think we touched on this lightly, but I want to kind of ask it directly. How do you promote and engage with your fan base to maintain the momentum for your work?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know the answer. I don't know. I kind of just wake up and show up every day as who I am. One big rule for my team, even like to the point where my publicist, I'm like, it might seem weird, but tell them. A big rule for me is like, don't tell me how many followers I have. I don't want to know. Like, I haven't looked at my profile.
Yeah, you have. No, I'm just kidding.
Me like throws speaker out the window. No, I haven't looked at my profile in like at least 8 months. I don't want to know how many followers I have because those trends and that like ebb and flow can put me in a place where I'm compromising who I am for some different outcome. And that's not what I want. So I don't know the answer. If I'm being transparent with you, I personally feel as though there are many occasions in which I may show up, and people will show up for my anime takes, but they won't show up when I'm creating something. It's that Japan thing that we talked about, right? I can make 100 videos about Naruto, and that's fine. I make one video about something that I wrote, and it's like, oh, why would I care about this? I think whether you got 0 followers or whether you got 1 million followers, getting people to care about independent IP is hard. And I've seen people who I'm not going to call out doing what I consider very morally dubious things to draw attention or get clickbaity and attract people to what they're doing. Some people rely on like anger and division in order to get people to care about what they're making. And I exist in a space where I know that ultimately on the internet, stuff that drives negative emotions is always going to move faster than positive. But I got to stay true to me and hope that the story is going to win out in the end. Now that's a mighty privileged point of view to take, because in my experience, the story has won out in the end. But I know there are plenty of cases where there have been great stories that have not got the attention because everybody's posting like the 80th Mooding picture. And I be getting mad on their behalf sometimes. I'd be like, that's wild. Like the Brazilian Miku Hatsune thing. Everybody's like, ooh, Brazilian Miku, Brazilian Miku, Brazilian Miku. And I'm like, that's wild, because if there was an actual black woman or like Afro-Latina woman original character that popped up that looked exactly the same, but she wasn't Miku, I guarantee y'all wouldn't be drawing as much fan art as you're drawing right now. And that's wild to me. That we're so closed off to the point that we can't, that we can't kind of find value in independent stories. But I mean, like, that's kind of flavored by my personal point of view, because I really like stories. I really care about stories. I'm a storyteller. But the average person, you gotta make them care. And I don't think I've cracked the code on making people do that. But I've done okay for myself.
Okay. I definitely can relate to that. Trying to get people to care about content that we create at our publishing, and versus the content that I consume as a fan. So definitely can relate to those type of issues. But let me see here.
I have a question about Weirdo.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you said that you grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Is Weirdo placed there, or is it in a fictional?
So Weirdo is in Atlanta. So it's a memoir. So it's my life. Like it's a pretty bar for bar retelling of my experiences as a young person. And it is 100% based in Atlanta. That's why Donald Glover, once he recovers from his surgery, Donald Glover can pick up Weirdo and be like, wow, this feels amazing. Yeah, he canceled the latter half of his tour because he got sick. He had to have a surgery.
Oh, okay.
Recovery.
That's what's up. I usually live in Atlanta. I'm out in Oregon right now, but that's why I asked. So okay, I'm gonna.
That sounds like quite the differential, I guess.
Definitely, especially weather-wise. But it's like just now starting to get like kind of dreary and cold or whatever here, and I'm like, it'll still be 80 degrees in Atlanta. So yeah, I'm adjusting, but it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's okay.
Do you still reside in Atlanta, or did you say something about going to Cali or something?
So I am still in Atlanta, but I ain't gonna tell nobody where I'm at. I frustrate too many people. I frustrate too many people. They get mad at your boy, even when I ain't even trying to hurt nobody. They'll get mad at your boy. So I'm like,
do you go to Dragon Con?
I went to Dragon Con one time, and as a convention, it felt so disjointed to me. I didn't know where I was going. There were things in so many buildings. Like I grew up on MomoCon, Anime Weekend Atlanta, where I show up and it's one building, it's one space. When MomoCon was on Georgia Tech's campus, it was spread across multiple buildings. But now that it's in the World Congress Center, it's like it's in one spot. You generally know what you need to do and where you need to go. I've never had anybody to show me around Dragon Con. I'm sure it's a fun convention. I just haven't had anybody show me around.
It's the best. I didn't go this year because I was already out here, but yeah, you definitely have to go at least one year. All right, Mike, you got your question that you were about to ask since I done ran
No,
my mouth too much.
no problem at all. That's what you're here for. It's called chat and draw.
We had a chat and stuff. Okay.
So, what do you think the future holds for indie comics, especially in terms of diversity and representation?
So I'll say this. This is going to get me in trouble. Personally, I do not believe in print publishing as a viable revenue model for anybody that does not already have millions of dollars.
Mhm.
I think very often we want to tell stories, we want to make stories, and we think about distribution, but we don't think about our revenue model. And print publishing is certainly something where you really got to get your numbers right from the outset. So what I foresee, unfortunately, is a lot of people running in a hamster wheel and spinning their gears, trying to make a math equation that was never going to be financially sustainable. So I think some people are going to like spend a lot of time just like try to make it work, try to make it work, try to make it work. But if we look at the numbers, if we look at the economics of it all, it's like it can be the most successful thing ever and it's not going to work. When we started with the Uncommons, our first series, we would do print copies of the Uncommons. I'm putting in orders from Mixum for 1,000 copies of the Uncommons. It's full color. It's like 250 pages or something like that. And they're charging me $12 maybe per book at a order size of like 1,000 books. So I go to a convention and I sell it for $20. And someone sits down with me and says, well, Tony, what are your goals for the company? I say, well, I want us to be $1 million company. Like I want an operating budget of $1 million. I want to be bringing home 6 figures and I want my team to be paid well with health insurance. And I want us to be able to make comics full time and blah, blah, blah. It's like, cool. So how many comics at $20 a pop, $8 profit would you need to sell in order to be making $1 million? And that's $1 million after, like, that's $1 million, not including the cost that it's going to take to ship the goods there, the customer service stuff that you're going to have to do. How much is that going to be? And when you look at that number, that's a lot of books. And I personally do not plan on being behind a table at a convention every weekend to make that happen. Truly.
Mhm.
And in a world where you have New York Times best-selling books that when you go to a Barnes and Noble, at most, they're going to have like 3 copies. The scale required to make it work in print publishing is just massive. It's ridiculous. And frankly, I feel like you can make it work if you're like a very small outfit. You can make it work if your team is very like compact. But my aspirations are for something a lot bigger. So I had to come up with a different revenue model. So I think I feel like indie comics in many ways is like the Forest of Death in Naruto. Like it's a test. You're going to go in there and most people are not going to make it out. Like some random monster or beast is going to show up and take them out. Or even like the test on the mountain that Tanjiro does in the first season of Demon Slayer. It's like you train, you run in there. Not every trainee makes it out. And what I try to spend my time doing is pushing people in the business direction more than the creative direction, because creativity is the easy part. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
Writing, creating, drawing, that whole process, it certainly requires skill, but that's where the passion is. You just let the inspiration hit you and you make that work. But the financial part, though, that's the part where we got to be spending a lot more time. I'm like, you over here A/B testing Facebook ads for a book that we haven't even figured out the unit cost for. Make it make sense. That's not what we should be doing.
Wow.
You put in the comparison of that to Naruto just hit me so hard in the heart. That just hurt so much. And it has so much weight to it. Oh my goodness gracious. If you could collaborate with any creator in the industry, who would it be and why?
Well, I guess the good news is a lot of people that I want to collaborate with, I get to. Like my team at Weird Enough, Hannah Lee, Andy Robles Valdez, Dorian Cristo, Spencer Amundsen, Luis Povera. I get to work with some very, very cool and amazing artists. Leah Harmon, like I got to pick my team from scratch. So the people that I want to work with, I do work with. Jessica and Jacinta Wibowo, who illustrated Weirdo, extremely talented artist. Irene Yom, who's illustrating The Dream Frontier, another project I'm working on. Great. The person that pops into my head where I go, you got to get in the lab with me. Like my 3 people where I'm like, you got to get in the lab with me. Are Peach Momoko, who's a colorist. She's currently doing Ultimate X-Men, but Peach Momoko, I just love her colors. Peach Momoko needs to color The Dream Frontier. That'd be great. I'd be like over the moon. White Manga, who works with Saturday AM and does Apple Black. I feel like his stuff is really good. And I would also say, like, I want to work with Studio Bones on something. Just like it's very broad because that's a whole studio, but Studio Bones needs to work with me on something.
That's what's up. I thought you were going to say Megan Thee Stallion. You're defending her. I did see that video. A lot of people sent me those, that video. And
yeah, listen, I ride for Meg, bro. Somebody show up and have something to say about Meg. I'm like, all right, I need you to sit down. We have video evidence of her in high school being the queen of the weebs. Don't play. don't play. Don't act like that. Well, I mean, that's different because I thought like artists. If you're talking about like people in general, I feel like Megan Thee Stallion, Donald Glover, Kid Cudi. These are all people who creatively I would love the opportunity to collaborate on something with.
Yeah, that's what's up. And that's what's up. Okay, Mike, you got any more?
Oh yeah, I do. I was going to let you ask a question.
Over, so I'm gonna let you go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was going to let you take the next couple because I am getting close on our man here.
I see you.
He looks pretty awesome.
Question. So for anyone who's not aware of the uncommons, like, do you want to give like a quick little synopsis about that so that in case they want to check it out?
So I call the uncommons My Hero Academia meets Avatar: The Last Airbender, but rooted in West African mythology. So it's an adventure fantasy story about a girl who has a vision of the end of the world. And when the leaders of her tribe kind of don't listen to her, she runs away from home to this futuristic city where her vision took place with the goal of creating a team of people to stop the calamity before it begins. But as they all come together, what they find is that they are the most recent part of a prophecy set in motion long before they were born. So the Uncommons is very much like interesting power system, fun action sequences, some really strong character development and lovable characters, as well as, in my opinion, some really good fantasy world building. I like it a lot. It was the first long form thing that I wrote, and I think I learned a lot from it. So that's helping me like kind of in everything else that I write. So the Uncommons, I mean, we got a new episode that comes out on Webtoon in 5 minutes. So new episodes of the Uncommons come out every Wednesday at 9:00 EST, and it's a Webtoon original. So that's fun. But yeah, the Uncommons is a fun time. I like to say that since I can't draw, it's just my job to write. So I write very quickly. I write kind of voluminously, and I have a lot of ideas. I think for me, a happy life is one where I get to tell all the stories that I want to tell, where I get to make the things that I want to make. And it's interesting to exist in an industry where I show up I show up with an idea. I show up with an idea, and I say, this is something that I want to make. And the industry goes, oh, well, I don't know. We're kind of skeptical. I don't know if we can do that. And in the back of my head, I'm like, if Kim Kardashian walked up to you with the same idea, you make it work. So it's not the idea. It's not even me. It's that you lack confidence in your ability as an entity to sell a story unless there's this giant name attached. And you have decided to make that my problem. So as a storyteller, I have to navigate those things. And you know, it is what it is. I can't complain. There will be problems in whatever profession I was working in, but at least in this one, I get to make choices of my own.
So, quick question: are you writing full time? Is that your regular gig now?
So I run my company. I write. I voice act. I do a lot of public speaking.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I got many jobs.
Okay. But all for now, at least.
Yes, exactly. All jobs I want. I'm really lazy. I'm like, if I don't want to do it, I'm probably not. You really gotta. If I don't want to do it, it's not happening. That was my biggest thing when I was in college. I studied abroad in Japan, and while I was there, I felt this deep, kind of immense sense of freedom. And what I told myself when I came back was, I how do I put it? What I told myself when I came back was, I never want to live a life where I have to give up this freedom.
Mm.
So I'm very deliberate about trying to create a lifestyle for myself that enables the freedom to allow me to kind of do whatever I feel like doing. If I want to go to Japan tomorrow, I have to ask somebody's permission. I'm like, I got to get a visa and stuff, but I'm just going.
Well,
Uh, if I get a call that's like, hey, can you be in New York for the speaking engagement? That's cool. I don't have to put in PTO. I don't have to get approval from anybody. I'm just gonna go. And I have fun living like that. It's a fun time.
that's a blessing.
That is.
So, is there a Mrs. Weirdo or some weird packing up and going? So,
No weirdo juniors. Mrs.
okay.
Weirdo is very she does not want to be in the public in any way. She's
Understood.
like, I don't want there to be any connection between me and you, because they get a little crazy over there. Y'all like to
They
tussle
do.
over there.
They do. They do. They like the girls like to tussle. You
Yeah.
know, that's what's up. Well, I'm not going to ask about any upcoming weirdo juniors. Um, I'd like to know whether or not people are incorporating them into their work. So, yeah. Wait. Well, weirdos took place when you were in school, so you probably
Well,
will.
I'm like, so Weirdo is a graphic novel memoir, so like that, it's like mostly my story, but I like to think that the people that I'm in community with, my family, whether it's biological or my found family, they make me better as an individual, and I bring all of that progress to my writing. So I think I'm deeply inspired by the people that I have the privilege to be in community with. Like, they make me better. That's kind of the point, you know. That's what's supposed to be going on.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, would you prefer people purchase Weirdo through the QR code that we have on the screen, or is there a different website? Because I know sometimes, like, everybody want to get their little hand in it. So, where would you prefer people purchase your book from?
I mean, wherever feels convenient for you, whatever gets you to buy it. If it's
Thank
Amazon, if
goodness
it's Barnes
you
and
were
Noble,
Amazon. Here I come.
if it's your local bookstore, whatever feels right.
All right, that sounds
We,
good.
awesome. I got one more question
I'm
I'm
here.
gonna ask you, and then I will not take up any more. We will not take up any more of your time. Um, you successfully have funded multiple Kickstarter campaigns. What advice would you give aspiring creators looking to crowdfund their projects?
So a little bit of a typo there. I have not funded any Kickstarter
Oh
campaigns.
wow.
For anything that I have produced or made, Kickstarter has never been something that crossed my mind. Because, like I said earlier, I have trouble. Like, I don't necessarily believe in the viability of print publishing as a revenue model. And
Mhm.
Kickstarter is a B2C type thing. And what I do is, I operate in my realm of expertise. Like, wherever my blessings are and where my strengths are, that's where I move. I'm the type of guy where it's like, I cannot get 100,000 people to give me $1 each. I can't. I get
Mhm.
one person to give me $100,000, but I can't get 100,000 people to give me $1 each. So Kickstarter requires a kind of built-in community element, and in my opinion, the general comic consumer group is like way too finicky and oversaturated for me to hedge my bets on whether they decide to show up that week, or like on whether one of my male characters has enough like ab definition to suddenly get treated like Satoru Gojo. Like I don't like to take those gambles.
Okay.
I invest my time in business models and revenue models that are more B2B, like business to business. They're a little more institutional, that allow us to create what we want to create, and also impact young people the way that we want to impact young people in a way that's financially viable. So, I mean, you look at people like Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson at a Kickstarter, they got like $17 million. Brandon Sanderson knows how to work B2C. He's been in the industry for a really long time. He knows how to do that. You get people like one of my mentors, Ngozi Yukazu, who broke the record for most successful comics Kickstarter, and she was holding the record before. She broke her own record. Ngozi knows how to work that and do that. I, on the other hand, that's not really my position of strength. So for me, I tend to say with the B2B stuff.
All right. Well, apologies for the misconception there. My research failed me on that one, but I appreciate you answering the question anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So if anybody had not figured out, you guys have been on the show before, you know, when I pull up that QR code, that will, if you scan that with your phone, it'll directly take you to, well, in this situation, Amazon, where you can purchase copies of Weirdo for yourself. I recommend it. It was a very good read from what I read from it, and really enjoyed it. And I think it's a good story that you guys will all get behind. We have a lot of indie creators that watch our show or whatnot, and we'll pull that down. But this is pretty much where I'm at right now. I've just got to kind of finish the background for this, and then this will be yours, sir. This will be yours to do whatever you want with it, and being a guest on our show.
Well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you having me. I appreciate you showing me the love, giving me the chance to kind of talk about storytelling. It's something that I'm really passionate about. So I mean, look at the setup you got here. This is a good time. Really, all you're missing is like Pokemon cards. That's it. That's all you're really missing.
I'm sure they're back there somewhere.
Well, that's one fandom that is not quite for me. I like Pikachu,
okay.
So I rock with Pikachu. But yeah, my kids love it. Well, are there any final words, anything you want to let everybody know, where to follow you and things like that you want to put out there before we go off?
I'm at Tony Weaver Jr. on all platforms, and I encourage people to read Weirdo, read it for yourself, get it for your kids. Give it a look, take a chance on the story, and I promise you won't regret it.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you again for tuning into this episode of Chat and Draw. Thank you, chat, for your questions and your comments. Hope you guys all enjoyed yourselves on this episode. Thank you, Mr. Weaver, for coming on here with us. And we will catch you next week at the next episode of Chat and Draw on Wednesday. But be on alert. I might pop up some random ones through the rest of the week. But good night, everybody, and catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
Peace.
I think that I should ask Mr. Watson. I think that I should ask Mr. Watson.